Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through stacks of sources, articles, research, expert notes, pulling out those crucial nuggets of knowledge for you. The goal, to get you truly well-informed, quickly. And today, we're doing a deep dive into something, well, incredibly important, but often overlooked. Pedestrian safety.
Yeah,
It's critical because, frankly, pedestrians are just so vulnerable out there on our roads.
they really are.
And a moment's distraction, from anyone can have just devastating results. So our mission today is to unpack some essential guidance. We're looking at insights from various sources to help you understand the most impactful ways we can all prevent collisions.
And save lives, ultimately.
Exactly, save lives.
And this isn't just a local problem here or there. The World Health Organization highlights the scale, the sheer number of pedestrian lives lost globally every year. It's staggering.
It absolutely is. So as we go through this deep dive, we want to tackle some key questions, get right to the heart of it. Like, what are the most common causes of these accidents, and where do they tend to happen?
Right.
How can drivers improve, their visibility, their reaction time?
Crucial points.
And for pedestrians, why is something as simple as making eye contact so vital for safety?
It really is.
And maybe most importantly, what concrete steps can both drivers and pedestrians take to make our streets safer for everyone involved? Let's get right into understanding this better.
Okay.
So to really get a handle on pedestrian safety, we have to start with a scale, right? Ground ourselves in the problem.
Oh.
When we talk global road safety, what do the numbers actually tell us about pedestrians?
Well, it's quite a stark picture, unfortunately. The World Health Organization estimates around 1.35 million people die each year from road traffic crashes globally.
Wow, 1.35 million.
Yeah. And the really striking part, pedestrians make up a huge chunk of that 23%,
23%.
which translates to, roughly 310,500 pedestrian deaths every single year.
That's an incredible number.
It is. And here's something that often gets missed, but it really hits home. Road traffic injuries. They're the leading cause of death globally for children and young adults, ages 5 to 29.
The leading cause. That's shocking.
It really is. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, over 90% of these road deaths happen in low and middle income countries.
90%.
Even though those countries only have about 60% of the world's vehicles. But it's important to say high-income countries also face, significant numbers of pedestrian deaths. It's not just an issue elsewhere.
Right. And bringing that down to specifics can really highlight it for listeners. Take the United States, for example.
Okay.
In 2020, 6,516 pedestrians were killed in traffic crashes there. That was 17% of all U.S. traffic deaths that year.
17%. Still very high.
And the trend is worrying. There was a 46% increase in U.S. pedestrian fatalities between 2010 and 2019.
A huge jump.
A huge jump. Now, you compare that maybe to the European Union, where they've actually seen a general decrease in pedestrian deaths, which is, positive.
That is good news.
But then you look at countries like India and China, and the numbers are just incredibly high, often linked to rapid urbanization, more cars, more people.
Yeah, density and development play a big role.
Looking at those figures, it just makes you want to understand the why, doesn't it? What are the absolute core factors driving these tragic incidents?
Yeah, absolutely. And the key factors tend to be pretty consistent across the board, actually.
Okay.
First off, speeding. It's not just a factor. It often acts as a multiplier for severity.
Right. Makes sense.
It's a truly shocking statistic, but a pedestrian hit by a car going 50 kilometers per hour, that's about 30 miles per hour, is on average 8 times more likely to die than if they were hit at 30 kilometers per hour, which is just under 20 miles per hour.
8 times. Just from that speed difference.
8 times. That small difference in speed is often literally life or death. Second, impairment. Alcohol, drugs, they affect both drivers and pedestrians, significantly clouding judgment, slowing reactions.
Right. It cuts both ways.
Exactly. Third, and this is so important, inadequate infrastructure. The lack of sidewalks, proper crosswalks, safe walking paths.
Yeah, you see that all the time.
It's not just inconvenient. It's fundamentally a design flaw in many places that forces pedestrians into risky situations. And then, of course, distracted driving, mostly mobile phones these days, along with visibility issues. Things like poor lighting, especially at night. These are major culprits, too.
That really paints a picture of the causes. So if we understand how these things happen, the next question that just leaps out is, where? Where are people most vulnerable? Is it always the obvious places?
Well, what's fascinating is the variety of places where risk is high. Urban areas naturally see a lot of incidents.
Sure. More traffic, more people?
Exactly, particularly at intersections and marked crosswalks. But interestingly, non-intersections are also common spots.
You mean like crossing mid-block, jaywalking?
Precisely, where drivers just might not be expecting someone to step out, and surprisingly, maybe parking lots and driveways.
Really? Even at low speeds?
Yep. Confined spaces, vehicles backing up, they pose real risks. Then you have the obvious ones, high-speed roads. Often they just lack safe places for pedestrians to be.
So collisions there are likely severe.
Very severe usually. And let's not forget residential areas and school zones, kids playing, lots of children walking.
Right. Got to be extra careful there.
Definitely. And, as we mentioned, poorly lit areas. They dramatically increase the risk after dark.
Okay.
We also see higher risk around, busy shopping areas, bus stops, train stations, construction zones too.
It's sobering to hear about all those locations.
Mm-hmm.
And that naturally leads to thinking about who. Who gets caught in these dangerous situations most often? Who's most at risk?
Yeah, certain groups are definitely more vulnerable, often for specific reasons. Children, for one.
Okay. Why children specifically?
While they lack traffic experience, they can be impulsive, and honestly, their shorter height makes them harder for drivers to see.
Ah, right. Visibility again.
Exactly. Then there's the elderly. They might move slower, have age-related declines in vision or hearing, physical limits that affect reaction time.
Makes sense.
Individuals with disabilities, too, facing mobility, sensory, or cognitive challenges. And then there are behavioral factors. Distracted pedestrians, people on their phones, headphones in, not paying attention.
We see that everywhere now.
We do, and intoxicated pedestrians whose judgment and coordination are impaired.
Right.
It's also really important to note pedestrians in low-income areas. They often face higher risks simply because the infrastructure, sidewalks, crossings might be inadequate. That's a systemic issue.
That's a really crucial point.
Yeah. And finally, anyone walking during low visibility conditions, night, bad weather, and maybe young adults who sometimes engage in riskier behaviors like jaywalking more often.
That list really highlights how varied vulnerability can be. And that vulnerability, it brings us to a pretty fundamental question about how our roads work.
Okay.
Why is it that pedestrians often have the right of way? It's not just like a nice suggestion, is it? There's a real logic behind that law.
You're absolutely right. It's not just courtesy. There's critical logic. The number one reason is sheer vulnerability and safety.
Just the physics of it.
Exactly. Pedestrians are far more likely to be seriously injured or killed in a crash with a vehicle. So traffic laws are designed, first and foremost, to protect the most vulnerable.
Okay, that's primary.
Definitely. This legal priority also helps encourage walking and sustainable transport. Granting right-of-way makes walking feel safer, which is healthy, good for the environment, reduces congestion.
Benefits everyone, really.
It does. And it ties into urban design and accessibility. Prioritizing pedestrians makes cities more livable, more walkable, supporting things like sidewalks and crosswalks.
Right. Makes cities work better for people.
Then there's the legal and regulatory framework. It creates clear, consistent, predictable rules. Everyone knows, or should know, who yields to whom. That reduces conflict, helps traffic flow.
Predictability is key on the road.
Absolutely. And finally, there are deep ethical and social considerations. It reflects a kind of societal responsibility to protect vulnerable people, promote equity. Walking is the main way many people get around.
That really lays out the why, clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears now to practical application.
Right?
Whether you're driving or walking, what are the actionable steps you, the listener, can take? Let's start with drivers. What can you do to make our roads safer for pedestrians?
Okay, for drivers, your actions make a huge difference. And it starts with something simple but critical. Vigilance.
Just paying attention.
Exactly. Number one, stay alert and avoid distractions. And that means, crucially, put the phone away. Just put it away while driving.
Seriously, no text is worth it.
None. Second, always yield to pedestrians. That means stopping at marked crosswalks, yes, but also being ready to stop at unmarked ones, and always when you're turning at intersections. Check for pedestrians.
Be proactive about looking.
Yes. Third, obey speed limits. Drive slowly in neighborhoods. Be extra strict about lower limits in school zones. Remember that 8-time statistic we talked about?
Yeah, that sticks with you.
Fourth, improve your visibility and look out for theirs. Use your headlights in low light dawn, dusk, rain, fog, even if you think you can see okay.
Helps others see you too.
Precisely. Keep your windshield clear. And be extra cautious at night, actively scanning for pedestrians, especially if they might be wearing dark clothes.
Okay. What else?
Also, be prepared for the unexpected. Exercise extra caution around kids and the elderly. They might not follow predictable patterns, and be aware that pedestrians might be distracted too.
Right. Assume unpredictability sometimes.
Yeah, it's safer. Finally, park safely. Use designated spots. Never park in a crosswalk or on a sidewalk. And always, always double check for pedestrians when backing out of anywhere.
That backing up one is tricky.
It really is. Practicing defensive driving, overall anticipating movements, leaving space is vital. And maybe, support local safety initiatives in your community. It helps.
Those are really clear, actionable steps for drivers. Great advice. So now let's flip the coin. What about when you're navigating the world as a pedestrian? What can you do to stay safe around vehicles?
Okay, for pedestrians, boosting your own safety is just as important. First off, be visible.
Especially at night.
Especially at night or in low light. Wear bright or reflective clothing if you can. Maybe use a flashlight, reflective tape on a bag, something.
Make yourself stand out.
Exactly.
Wow.
Second, stay alert and avoid distractions. Keep your focus on the road, the traffic, your surroundings. Avoid texting while walking, especially crossing streets. Don't have headphones blasting so loud you can't hear approaching cars.
Head up, phone down, ears open.
That's the mantra. Third, follow pedestrian signals and signs. Only cross at designated crosswalks when the signal says walk.
Can you quickly break down those signals?
Sure.
Walk, don't walk?
Sure. Walk means it's safe to start crossing. Flashing don't walk means don't start crossing, but if you're already in the street, finish quickly. Steady don't walk means absolutely do not enter the crosswalk. And use those countdown timers wisely. Make sure you actually have enough time.
Good clarification. What's next?
Fourth, and this is so critical, make eye contact with drivers. Before you step off the curb, look at the driver. Try to get that moment of acknowledgement so you know they see you and they're actually stopping.
Don't just assume they see you.
Never assume. Confirm. Fifth, use sidewalks and paths whenever they exist. If there's no sidewalk, walk on the shoulder facing oncoming traffic so you can see cars coming.
Right. Face the danger.
Exactly. Be extra cautious at intersections. Always look left, right, then left again before crossing, even if you have the light or the right-of-way. Watch for turning vehicles. They're a common hazard.
That left, right, left rule is classic for a reason.
It is. Cross quickly and safely once you start. Don't linger on the road. Avoid jaywalking. Use those designated crossing points, and they're for a reason. Also, be aware of blind spots, especially around big vehicles like trucks and buses. They have huge blind spots. Stay where the driver can see you.
Good point. Don't disappear next to a truck.
No. Be extra careful around driveways and parking lots, too. Always watch for cars backing up.
Yes, that came up for drivers, too.
It's a shared risk zone. And finally, if you have kids, teach them pedestrian safety from a young age. Supervise them closely near traffic, hold hands, and maybe plan your route if you can. Choose streets with sidewalks, crosswalks, good lighting. Avoid high-traffic roads if there's a safer alternative.
Wow, that's a comprehensive set of actions for both sides. This deep dive really hammers home that pedestrian safety isn't just one person's job, is it?
Not at all.
It's profoundly shared. It impacts millions globally. And understanding the actions, the vulnerabilities, the responsibilities on both sides, driver and pedestrian, that's absolutely key to making things safer for everyone. It feels like ultimately simple awareness and just making smarter decisions, from behind the wheel and on foot, that really makes the difference.
Precisely. And understanding not just the rules, but the why behind them, like we discussed with the right-of-way, helps everyone make more informed, safer choices. It fosters a more predictable and secure environment for all of us in our communities.
So here's a final thought for you to consider, maybe explore further. Next time you're out on the road, doesn't matter if you're driving or walking, just take a moment. Think about this. How might one small adjustment in your routine, maybe choosing brighter clothes to walk in at dusk, putting your phone completely away before you even reach the crosswalk, or just taking that extra second to deliberately make eye contact with a driver or pedestrian. How might that tiny change contribute, not just to your own safety right then, but to the collective well-being, the security of your entire community?
That's a powerful thought to end on. Small actions, big impact.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into pedestrian safety.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.